This is The Guide Gals, a modern, wedding-focused podcast by the experts at Here Comes the Guide. I'm Chelsea, a designer and inspired creative who's probably racked up over 8,000 hours on Pinterest, and the friend who's going to shoot it to you straight.
And I'm Caroline, a social media manager who is obsessed with dogs as ring bearers and will inevitably cry over your wedding video. We've seen it from all sides. We've been brides, planners, bridesmaids, and have worked with stand-up brands throughout the industry.
Think of us as an extension of your wedding party and hang out with us as we share the ins, outs, ups, and downs of the road to I Do.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today is our 20th episode for the Guide Gals podcast, which is so fun. I don't know, it's come a long way, and so I feel like that's an exciting thing to mention, and for us to just be able to say thank you for listening. We are so lucky to have you to be a part of the Guide Gals community, and we're so excited to talk about the bridal party breakdown today.
Yes, I'm excited to get into this topic, and 20 really does seem like a lot. So super exciting, woohoo. We made it to 20.
Yes.
But hopefully there will be lots and lots more after this. But yeah, like I said, I'm so excited to dive into this topic. I think both of us, just working in the wedding industry, we have a lot of wedding related content coming up in our algorithms, and especially we both do partake in TikTok. Hopefully it doesn't get banned. But I've been seeing a lot of like bridal party, bachelorette, drama, all kinds of stuff on my TikTok feed, and I'm dialed in pretty much every time. I will be watching the videos.
Honestly, our algorithms have to be so similar because we send each other some of these sometimes. Like, I think I sent Chelsea one the other day, and that particular video has already been deleted. So the drama just continues, and I'm like so embarrassed to say I'm like so invested in it. I'm so invested in the drama. But
yeah, that particular one was juicy. It was good.
Yeah. No, that one was good because there were receipts. There were like, there was some back and forth there. But aside from the TikTok drama, we do want to dive into some questions surrounding what exactly does the bridal party do? What should my expectations be? How do I deal with the drama? Should I be expected to pay a bunch of money to travel, take PTO, time off? There's a lot of questions that we will go into today, but we also may not be able to answer everything in this episode.
Yes. There is, I feel like this general like piece of weddings is growing. Like it's just so much bigger and more extensive. Like there's a lot more to it than I think that there ever has been before. It's like its own industry now. And just a heads up, we probably will be using the term of bachelorette pretty heavily through this, just because it is a term that we have been involved in, and it just comes to mind a little bit easier for us. But we know that there are other terms to describe these groups: a wedding party, bridal party, groom's party. I mean, we want to recognize that this isn't just for the girls; it's for everybody. And anything, whatever. It's everyone's included here. And by using the term bachelorette a lot through this episode, which we probably will be, another recommendation for a drinking game that you might want to avoid. But yeah, we're not trying to discriminate or disinclude any members of a wedding party.
Absolutely. And before we get too far into diving into all of these questions, we obviously have to talk about our beverage choice of the day.
What are you drinking, Caroline? I always go first.
So that's good, because while you explain yours, I will continue to mix up mine. I did my Stanley, of course, but I also have Element. Sponsor us if you want. There's so many drink companies that we want to sponsor us because we are seriously beverage obsessed, but this is my electrolyte drink. If you are a Andrew Huberman fan, which I am, this is something that they talk about a lot. It is a better electrolyte mix. It has no added sugar. It's very salty. It is, but I just got a variety pack, and so this one is the orange one. And it has 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. No sugar, 2 grams of carbs, in case you were wondering. But it does take a while to mix it up. So that's what I have today, because I am going to try and exercise a lot this afternoon. So getting my electrolytes in now.
Nice. Have you tried all the flavors of it? I haven't tried any element,
Okay.
anything of it, but I really like it's been one of those things where I'm like, I should order that. And then I don't for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
so I have had the raspberry and the watermelon so far. This is my first time having the orange, so I'll keep you updated. But of the raspberry and the watermelon, I think raspberry is my favorite. That one was good. Mostly because like the watermelon was giving more of that like artificial watermelon taste.
Oh, okay.
And that is like a sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't kind of thing.
I hear ya. Okay. Yeah, because I'm a big Mio girl, like the water
I
additives.
do
Like
like
something
Mio.
lately about
Just
water
something.
is like I'm like having an aversion to it. Like I don't know why. Where I'm like just like
Yeah.
regular unflavored water, I'm like having a hard time drinking enough of it. So I've been using
Yeah.
Mio a lot in my water, but
Do you use liquid IV
I don't think there's any
ever?
benefits. Yes, liquid IV. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel like we've
Yeah,
had it
like
before
they're
together,
like the
maybe.
powder. Yeah, I
Yeah.
yeah, I get that. I've gotten those at Costco before. I don't know why I
Yeah.
completely blanked on what it was. Yeah, I think I knew I needed just something like it'd be nice to have something with more of a benefit to it,
True, 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 true.
aka Element or Liquid
Yes.
IV, because that has all the electrolytes too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm currently not drinking water. I'm drinking a cold brew. It's fine. It's actually the ratios are not good today. What are you
I've
gonna do?
What are you gonna do? But it's always the worst. I love cold brew, like ordering cold brew from places, but I do always notice that I'm like, it's either the perfect ratio or it's totally off. For some reason, I like don't
Yeah, I should
understand
have.
why.
Yeah, I should have just done like no cream or but I yeah. It's easier that way. You know what you're gonna
That's
get.
easier. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, now that you know way too much about what we're drinking, um, we can go ahead and get into it. So, for today's episode, we're going to be breaking down the bridal party questions into the classic who, what, when, where, and why. So, that's going to be kind of the structure you can look out for in this episode as we break it all down.
Yeah, but and we know that we won't answer all of the questions that you might have surrounding this topic. If we see enough comments, DMs, reach out to us on our website, we will absolutely do more episodes surrounding this topic because we, like we said, are very interested. We could do things like bachelor, bachelorette party themes, attire, maybe even just like are these parties getting out of hand? We can go into so much more outside of just what we're going to break down today. So it's really just going to be quick general overview of some of these things and let us know if you have more questions about the other associated topics.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it reeled in today, unfortunately for us, just because like the all of those different fun things, I think that like I'm fascinated by them, especially like the different themes and like what people are doing and how big it's getting, and then of course like the drama. Like I would love to talk about all things bachelorette parties, bridal parties, whatever it is. But today, yeah, we're just gonna do that really nice overview of all of it, so you have a really good understanding of what it even means. Maybe you've never
Right.
been in a wedding party before, and you really have no idea what to expect when it comes to that. So, we're going to go ahead and start with the who. So, these are going to be some who questions. So, the answers to these questions are a great place to start. And you can plan many of the bridal party details once you know all of these things. So, it's really just like, okay, let's check, get these things squared away. And
Yeah.
then you can really start diving into it once you have them figured out.
Totally. So, of course, classic question where to start. Who should you choose to be in your bridal party? Who are those people going to be? And also, I feel like another common question that comes along with like, who am I going to choose? Also comes with like, who am I allowed to say no to? So, of course, who are you going to choose for your wedding party? Some of those people's names are going to come up so clear, so quick. Going to be your closest friends. Maybe they've known you your whole life, or maybe you just became fast friends over the past year and you can't imagine your life without them anymore. So that's like, yeah, wherever your gut kind of goes to first, trust your gut there and pick those people.
Yeah.
But also, you don't have to choose your partner's sister. You don't have to choose your cousin because they chose you to be a part of your bridal party. I think that's a good caveat to make is that like you don't have to choose people who
Yeah.
chose you. That can be kind of tough, but it really should be those nearest and dearest people for you.
Yeah, I think emphasis on nearest and dearest. I know like some people two will focus on, like, if with their partner, if you're both going to have almost like separate bridal parties or separate wedding parties, like groomsmen, bridesmaids. I was like bachelorettes. No, groomsmen, bridesmaids. You don't have to have an equal number. Like, people get really focused on that. They're like, oh, it's gonna look weird while I'm standing up there if there's 10 grooms. That's a lot. That's too many. 10 groomsmen and like 4 bridesmaids. It no one cares. It also it's fine. And like for wedding pictures as well, I think that like the general trend, maybe not trend, but just like the way that photography is going, everything is like so much less posed. And those are the photos that, me personally, I think that a lot of other people agree to, are the ones that like really like resonate with you and stick with you. So like you don't have to worry like, oh, are the pictures gonna look weird? Like, no, it's okay. So like what I'm saying is, if your partner has more people that they're including in their wedding party, you don't have to match that and like figure out like, oh, well, you know what, this one friend from college, I bet she could do it, and then that would even things out. She's gonna like be in your wedding pictures and stuff forever. Like, are you gonna talk to her after that day still? Like, something to think about.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I've heard a lot of people who have had like backup bridesmaids just to like even out the count. It's kind of weird.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Could you imagine how you would feel to be like a runner-up?
Yeah. Stick to the
an alternate.
I like had these 7 people in mind, and my husband only had 6, and I almost didn't ask one of my closest friends to be a part of it. And then I was like, it doesn't matter. The count doesn't matter. Of course I'm gonna have her in it.
See, now you're saying 7. Like, that's a lot. And I was like, 10 is too many. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Well, I'm just imagining 10 men, like, standing all in the line. Like, that seems like it would take up a lot of space. Not that that matters, okay? Like, if you want.
I also have 5
10,
sisters. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what made it hard. And I didn't even include all of my sisters. Like, even amongst my family, I chose my 2 sisters who I'm the closest with. And that was it. Like, also because, and that kind of like moves into the next question, who is going to be able to make this commitment? I have a sister who is 8 years younger than me, and I love her and I'm close to her, but like not in the same way that I'm close with my sister who's 4 years younger than me. Like, there's just a difference there because of age, and that's okay. And I also knew she wasn't going to be able to make the same commitment to what my expectations were of the bridal party. So who is really going to be able to make this commitment? Because for me, my sister in high school was not going to be able to do all the duties. She wasn't going to be able to like help pitch in for things, or she wouldn't have the money to buy her own dress. Like, that would have either fallen to me or to my parents. And so really understanding who is going to be able to make this commitment, because also like you could ask your best friend who might get pregnant and be due around the same time as your wedding, and just having an understanding of like, they may not be able to make the same commitment. So I think that's a good understanding to have in this process as well.
Especially if those commitment things like really mean a lot to you. Like, maybe like there are trips involved. I know that we touched on that. Like, they're getting bigger and bigger, and maybe it's really important to you that every single person in your wedding party comes on your bachelorette trip with you. If that's important to you, then like keep that in mind when you're asking people. And are they able to make the commitment? The commitments that you want them to make.
Big deal. And again, going along the lines of that, who is going to be your maid of honor, the best man, your right-hand person? That's also a big deal to choose, because obviously this person is special to you in some sort of way, whether that be your best friend, your sister. People have been choosing their mom as their maid of honor, which I think is like really precious if that's the right choice for you. That person should also know that they're in a special, position. They also are going to have special duties. So having that expectation there that you know of, like you have an understanding of what you expect from your maid of honor, but then also that person should also be able to live up to that. If I asked my sister, who's 8 years younger than me, to be the maid of honor, like she would not have known how to plan a bachelorette. She would not have known how to plan a bridal shower or those other associated details. So who that person is going to be is also very important, not just because they're special to you, but because they also will have to incur some other special jobs. Even alongside that, like if kind of like we said, if you're really sad on this person who's special to you to be your maid of honor, like my best friend who I've known for my entire life, like we met when we were 1 years old. I've known her longer than some of my sisters. She was my maid of honor. She was my point person. Great. But I was also part of a wedding party where the maid of honor was pregnant and had a lot going on and wasn't really going to be able, and had to also move states away and wasn't going to be able to do a lot of planning things. She still maintained that special role, but we made sure that someone else kind of became the point person for
Yeah.
that. Because,
Yeah, that's
yes,
such a good idea.
yeah, and like you can incur that. Like the bride can take on some of those details, but you don't want to plan your own bridal shower. You don't want to plan your own bachelorette. Or maybe you do. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe you do. But having someone else be the point person who like is the communicator between all of the bridesmaids or all of your bridal party, making sure that there is someone in place, so designate who that person will be.
Yeah, and I think that there are certain things that are expected of wedding party members, bridesmaids, maid of honor, whoever it is, like all of those different roles have expectations that come along with them. But you have to keep in mind that not everyone is aware of those expectations, or not everyone like is has been part of a wedding where those expectations exist in the way that you have. So like you have to, if you have certain expectations or duties for any of those members of your bridal party, tell them, make that part of the asking, make sure that they know that that's what you expect. And I think, yeah, I mean, like talking about that stuff beforehand is going to save you from like getting really disappointed and them feeling like weirdly resentful about like having to spend a certain amount of money or like do certain things. Like it's just, yeah, I've seen it before too, where like a maid of honor is like chosen and they kind of like completely drop the ball, but like they probably weren't even aware that like they were supposed to be doing certain things. Whatever. Set the expectations. This is going to be part of that first step, I think. And then, kind of going along with this, another thing to think about is who is going to be able to stand by your side, not just on your wedding day, but throughout your whole marriage. I kind of mentioned like about that uneven number thing, like, oh, like maybe I can ask like Jessica from college, who I haven't talked to in such a long time, to just hop in and like be, and like that'd probably be fun. Like, it's not that you don't like that person, but like I think that it's really special to have people there to stand by your side on your wedding day that you know believe in your relationship and want to be there to like really support you, like moving on from that point. I mean, this is like a really symbolic thing, to stand up next to somebody on their wedding, and it's I think like the deeper meaning behind these roles, besides like the bachelorette party and whatever else, holding your bouquet for you, and like it goes like so much further than that. Yeah, I think that's a big deal. I've heard about people who like kind of have regrets about who they chose, like they kind of just chose like who they were hanging out with at the time or whatever, and like for the most part that's probably fine, but I've heard of people, even I think my mom, sorry if this isn't accurate, by the way, Mom. I think that she, like, there's like someone who was in her wedding that she's like doesn't talk to anymore. And that's just like kind of weird. Like, hasn't like talked to since, like, maybe not since, but like, or like just like maybe kind of had a falling out with. And I mean, you never know what's going to happen, but I don't know.
Right.
That's weird. Like, I feel like be at least in the moment really sure about who you want to include.
Oh yeah,
In that
absolutely.
way. Also, like if you do have a certain number in mind, like figure out like who is gonna make the cut. Like like I said before, I was like 10 is far too many. Like maybe for you, you're like, no, that's a good number and like that works and that's what I envision. So great. But if you're like, whoa, like that sounds like a lot of people, that's just like too much. If you're like maybe somewhere around 5 or 6 is better for me, or maybe 3 or 4, whatever that number is, figure out what it is, and then, I mean, this sounds like kind of ruthless, but you know, choose your players. All right.
Yeah.
Like, figure out who makes the team.
And that might be even like something that you decide with your partner too, like who,
Yeah.
how many, if you're thinking smaller, if you're thinking bigger, whatever else it is. But yeah, it's the who of this is really important. And like we said, like Chelsea said before we even got into these questions, like it helps lay the groundwork for the rest of what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So now moving into some of the what questions. And really here we're going to talk about the expectations of the bridal party and things that you are going to have to ask yourself or things that you'll have to ask of your bridal party. And so really the biggest question is, what are the expectations? What do you want from them? What do you expect from them? That could be wedding related tasks, of course, like we've said, holding your bouquet during the ceremony, fixing your dress, doing some additional setup. But you're also probably going to ask them to be involved in a bridal shower, a bachelorette party, the rehearsal dinner, and other, maybe even cleanup afterwards. There are other associated expectations that come along with this. Sit down, figure out what your expectations are, and make sure that you understand them so that you can communicate those properly.
Yeah, and I know that I already talked a little bit about this too, like laying out those expectations when you ask them, but I guess even like I need to take a step back from that like a little bit. Like you need to figure out exactly what those expectations are. Like Caroline said, all of those different pieces to the puzzle, make sure that you like really have a good understanding of what you want from them and don't be wishy-washy. And also like if you like seriously, like if you're like, oh yeah, like I like they're gonna do this for me. But if they don't do that for me, I'm gonna be upset. Like tell them. Like don't like sit around and like think in that way. Like oh, I hope they do it. Like they're gonna disappoint me. Like that's not
Healthy.
not good. And like also a big part of that is like what do you expect them to pay? So like I think it's very common, like pretty much across the board. I think it's expected that if you're part of someone's wedding party in some aspect, you're gonna have to it's going to cost you some money. At the very least, you're going to be like buying a dress to wear or a suit or whoever you are, whatever you're wearing. You'll be spending some sort of money. So if it's as little as that, like, oh, you know what? I expect you to buy your own dress that you're going to wear and I expect you to pay for maybe your makeup artist and your hair person on the day of the wedding that I prefer to be there. But maybe it goes beyond that, or maybe you are very free spirited and you're like, I don't know. You're probably not free spirited if you're listening to a planning podcast, but
That's
like
fair. That's
figure
fair.
out what those expectations are. And another thing to think about is what are you going to do if they say no?
That's so true. That's a tough call, and you've talked about this too. Like if someone says no, do you fill that spot? Do you not fill that spot? And is that ultimately going to hurt your feelings in that friendship? That this is a tough part because really I am a firm believer that people should feel comfortable to say no to this if you really don't think you can live up to the expectations. Yeah. There are some people, like we've said before, who may be pregnant and expecting and might be due around the same time and just know that like monetarily, the time wise, like I'm not going to be able to do it. Or I've known some people who have been moving, changing jobs around the same time, or going back to school. Like there are so many cases where it is totally understandable where people can't live up to the expectations for this, or it would just be too stressful. And I think if you come into it knowing that like I'm okay with them saying no because there are expectations there, this isn't just about are we good friends or not. Like there are things associated. There's costs and things, and it could save you a lot of headache and heartache to just be okay and know going into it that they might say no, and that's okay. That's fine. It really is.
Yeah, I mean like especially, and I mean like there are different reasons to say no. Like I think that it can like really be like it could hurt your feelings and it's something to think about, be prepared for. But yeah, if someone's saying no because they're like, I don't really want to deal with all of that, then like, yeah, that's like, that kind of sucks. But honestly, it might be good. Like it might be like, okay, why am I friends with this person in the first place? But if someone is saying no because they're like, hey, like genuinely, I cannot afford that. And like, maybe you're, hey, like, you're doing this huge giant trip to somewhere, I don't know where, and that's going to be thousands of dollars for me to participate. I do not have thousands of dollars, so it's things to think about. And like really, like maybe like someone's like, you know what, like I really want to be there for you, I'm not sure if I can afford it, like can we maybe you might be prepared then to say like, you know what, I know that this friend of mine, there was a very brief intermission, my headphones died and I had to get a different pair of headphones, so I'm back, but I'm going to try to pick up where I left off here. I think what I was talking about is like maybe you have a friend who you know like is like has just lost their job or like something like
Mm,
along those lines, maybe you're going to go into it with saying like, okay, I have these certain expectations and I'm going to talk to them about it, but I'm willing to be flexible with them and work with them on
mhm.
different things. So yeah, it just really depends on like what you envision for your day. And like if you have your heart really set on someone that you want to be in there, and maybe
Yeah.
the reason for them possibly saying no is a reason like that, then maybe you'll be flexible. Maybe you're, I don't know, this is like tricky, but maybe you're willing to like let them share a room with you, or like whatever, like whenever you go on your
Mhm.
trip, or maybe you're like, you know what, it's so if you're not able to actually come on the trip, I'm okay with that as long as you're there for my wedding day. I
Yep,
mean, the possibilities are endless.
for sure. But
You guys know what to do.
yeah, but it'll be just nice to know that like everyone who says yes knows the expectations, is doing an
Yeah.
emphatic yes, and like wants to do all of those things with you, for you, whatever else it is. So good to nail down all of those what questions.
Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is the when. So this next like chunk of stuff we're going to talk about is, it's not quite as much to break down, but it's, I mean, it all has to do with the timing of things. So
Mm-hmm.
one big question that you're probably going to have is, when is the right time to actually ask these people to be part of my big day? So, we personally think as soon as possible, especially if you do have a longer list of expectations for them, or maybe your list of expectations has like a bigger dollar amount on it. If you have a lot that you're expecting of them, you want to give them ample time to prepare for
Mm-hmm.
what what this is. So we feel that as soon as possible is probably better, especially if you have a longer list of expectations for the people
Mm-hmm.
that are in your wedding party. Or, I mean, like, really, especially if you have a bigger dollar amount for that list of expectations for them. You want to give them plenty of time to prepare for, you know, whatever they need. If they need to save up a little bit of money, if they need to request PTO for different things, you
Mm-hmm.
really want to make sure that you're setting them up in a way that they can meet those expectations that you're putting out for them.
For sure.
And it's probably best to maybe wait until you have at least some of the details of your wedding like squared away. Maybe a wedding date, a wedding season at the very least, location. You want to have those expectations once, like what we just said. You want to lay out all those expectations for them, make it
Mm-hmm.
really clear like what you need from them in order for them to say yes to this commitment. Yeah, that way they really know what they're getting into, and then like it just
Yeah.
saves like awkward conversations and disappointed
Mm-hmm.
feelings and stuff like
Yes.
that.
Yeah, the sooner the better for sure, because there are that list of other things, and all those details are super important. And even in some of these other when questions, like when should we have the bridal shower? That typically can take place anywhere between like 3 months to 3 weeks prior to the wedding. You do want to find a sweet spot where it's like not too soon before the wedding and also not too close to the wedding. But you also might be able to talk to your bridal party about what dates work for them. I've been a part of a couple bridal parties where like it's a group effort to figure out a day that works for everybody within kind of that time frame. And then also even with the bachelorette party, that's another thing that you can kind of figure out when it works for everybody. I know it used to really be like the night before the wedding was like the bachelorette party.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've strayed away from that quite a bit.
I don't
I don't
think anyone does
see
that.
like, yeah, I don't see anyone doing that anymore.
What a bad idea, honestly.
Truly, it was, yeah, insane. And I
Yeah.
feel like it was just bad for so many reasons. It was just awful.
Yeah.
And it's more fun to be able to set aside a weekend or whatever to do everything together. But deciding on when as a group is really helpful, because then everyone knows, when do I need to get PTO time? When do I need to, plan my flights to get to wherever we're going? And ample time to plan ahead for these things is super important. So figuring out those dates, maybe together, or maybe you have some specific dates in mind. Great. Just communicating that well, because then people will maybe need to buy flights, take time off, whatever else. And one thing I want to mention here that I've seen a couple of times is some people doing these bachelorette weekends that turn into a bridal shower, because if a lot of your bridal party will be coming in from out of town, coming to wherever you are, it's important to know, like, maybe they can't afford flights for a weekend for the bridal shower and a weekend for the bachelorette. So kind of combining it into one and making it a sweet little escape someplace. Maybe you live outside of a city and you go into the city for the bachelorette weekend. You come back on a Sunday, and Sunday afternoon you have this really cute bridal shower. Figuring out those
Yeah, it's
details
such
of
a good idea.
yeah, I think it really is. And I went on one that was like that, and it was actually really cool because Friday, I think we even got there maybe on a Thursday. Thursday night, got together with some of the girls, then went together, and everybody got together on Friday. Did a bunch of bachelorette things on Friday. And then Saturday, we got up and got brunch together. And then Saturday, we had one bridal shower, which was all of the bride's friends. So it was a younger group. It was a pool party. It was awesome. And we did even more bachelorette things on Saturday night. And then Sunday was more of the like prim and proper, like the couple's parents and their friends, like a little bit of an older crowd, family friends. That was so cool. There was so much going on. It was so fun.
Cool.
But it was nice for the girls who are coming from out of town to just be able to do it all in one big weekend and not have to figure out all the details about multiple parties going on. So just wanted to mention that as an option.
Yeah, and that's like honestly like almost a way to like forego like a bigger trip, I would say. And like really like you a staycation maybe, or maybe yeah, like Caroline said, like maybe you go like into like the city, like if you live like near like a bigger city, and then like kind of bring it back to the hometown for the finale of like the whole weekend. But it really does make it like a big fun event, in like almost like a simpler way maybe. I feel like it's simplified, like simplifying things by putting it together. But
I agree.
yeah, it's really cool. I like that idea a lot. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is the wear. So this can be a tricky part. At least like this is where we've been seeing like some drama. I think like I've seen like drama related to the wear of bachelorette parties on TikTok. Like people are just doing like really extravagant things, and some people are viewing it as like a little much, like maybe a little over the top. I mean, whatever. Like these are still questions that you have to ask, and there doesn't have to be any negative connotation around it. So I guess I didn't need to steer it in that direction.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the bridal shower because, of course, I was kind of already rambling on about that. But where you have your bridal shower is important. Are you going to have it in your hometown, or are you going to have it, maybe you've moved and you're going to have everyone come to your new city, or you're going to have two separate bridal showers? I've seen this happen before where one happens in one person's hometown and the other one happens in your partner's hometown. That can be helpful, especially if like your grandma or your partner's grandma can't travel, and so you kind of bring the party to them. So figuring out where that's going to be and who all needs to be invited to that is important. And then another thing to think about is, where is your bridal party going to stay for different things? Of course, bachelorette, which Chelsea is going to break down for us in a second. But for me, more so, I was thinking like, okay, where are they going to stay for the bridal shower weekend, if that's separate, or where are they going to stay for the wedding weekend? This is a special group of people who need to have special priority in terms of lodging for things. So figuring out where they are going to be at different times is very important, even down to like, where do they need to be on the wedding day in your overall itinerary? You need to know that, they need to know that, and that's something good to like set some time aside to think about.
I've seen it done like a handful of times before, where a wedding party, like they'll kind of rent out a house or something, and so they can all stay together and like be together like the night before and all of that, which isn't quite like a bachelorette party or anything like that, but or like maybe they have two houses and like one is like the bride's side and one is the groom's side, or you know, other terms if needed. But yeah, I think that that's like really cool and fun, and like also ensures like if you're wanting them to be there for you the night before maybe, or like very early in the morning on your wedding, it ensures that you're like setting them up for that so that they'll be there. Like if that's part of your expectation list, it's something to think through. Make sure that that option exists for them. And it's probably easier if you kind of have that squared away, or at least like thought out like the basic logistics of it. But yeah, I'm going to talk about the bachelorette parties too. So like we said at the top, like these are just so big. Like there are like full companies, like it's like a full industry of its own now, that it's just like these kind of parties, there are companies that are popping up, and like that's all that they do is like plan these type of parties, which is really cool and fun, and like it means like a lot of really exciting things. Like you can do all kinds of different themes, and there are like lots of ideas that are really laid out there for you, but you have to decide like what level are you going to go, and like what, let's be realistic here, like what, how much money do like you have to spend on this kind of thing, and how much money do the people that you're asking to be part of this, like how much money do they have to spend on this, like do you want to go to Bora Bora? Like great, me too. Can you afford to go to Bora Bora? Like is it gonna work? Like these are things that you have to think about.
Yeah.
Also, once you have that part nailed down, like where is this gonna happen, what are you gonna do while you're there? You might be like have like a more like chill vibe, like maybe you're like, oh, we want to rent a cabin and we just want to like go hang out, like girls time, we're gonna order pizza, and it's like very laid back. But you might have like more of an itinerary, especially if you're going to Bora Bora. Like let's lay it out, like where are we getting breakfast, like are we going to go like scuba diving, not scuba diving maybe like snorkeling, deep sea fishing, I don't know, like these are I don't know what goes on in Bora Bora. I clearly have never been there. But like figure out like what kind of outings are you going to do? Especially, like if you're going somewhere like really cool, like you should absolutely take advantage of like the once in a lifetime kind of stuff that they have to offer for you. But you really, 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 really do not have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on this trip.
Yeah.
It might seem that way based on what you are seeing on the internet. And what I'm seeing on the internet, it might seem like you have to go to a foreign country and like literally spend $20,000. If you can do that, let me know. I will be there, and I that's really, really cool if you can do that. But like not everyone is doing that because it's not realistic for everybody. And if you're not doing that, it doesn't mean that it's like less than by any means. There is like a trend, like a side of it too, where people are opting, like I said, for that more like laid back and intimate. Maybe you're doing like a staycation. Maybe like one of your friends has a lake house, one of your bridesmaids, hopefully, or like hopefully someone in the wedding party that you're going to like take advantage of in that way. Maybe they have like a lake house and you're going to go stay there, and it's like things are more set up for you. Like it doesn't have to be anything absolutely over the top, but if you want it to be, send us the photos.
Yep. Yeah. We at least need to see it, if not be there, you know?
Yes.
All right. And lastly, we need to talk about why. Why do you have a bridal party? Why is any of this important? Why does it matter? So, as a fun fact, the bridal party actually originates from a tradition in ancient Rome where they needed 10 witnesses. They would have 5 girls, 5 boys.
Oh my gosh.
And they would all dress up as the bride and groom. This was a like kind of a superstition thing where they wanted to ward off evil spirits that may try and interfere with the union that was happening. So they would dress up as the bride and groom to confuse any evil spirits that may be at play in order to protect them.
I love that.
Isn't that actually so cute? Because like the heart of that is like they're there to witness the marriage, but they are also there to protect the couple. I think that's so cute. And like the dedication, I'm sure that had happened to that. That's so fun. But yeah, this tradition goes way back. And the thought process behind it really is like the people who are going to be part of your wedding day are there to protect you. They are dedicated to you. And I still think the why behind your bridal party should be along those lines. They should be there to stand alongside you, of course, support you, and provide help to you throughout the marriage process, like the wedding itself, but also like the marriage in general. I think that is like the heart of it. That should be the why. And that's why we think like these nearest and dearest people to you should be chosen, because they're going to want to help you and walk alongside you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I know like all of the things that we've talked about before are very like expectations. What are you asking? Have it all laid out. Like what's the budget? Like, but I mean, like, don't, like, maybe you do want to go to Bora Bora and do all the things that I mentioned, but don't, like, just ask your rich friends, like, to have, like, that experience. Like, that's weird. Like, really, like, choose people that you love and that know, like, support your relationship and will be there for you. Like Caroline said, all of those things will be there for you after your wedding day, too.
Yes.
And into the future. Of course, this isn't to go against anything that we've said before. You do still need to lay out the expectations and make sure that they do understand like what it is, because it is a responsibility. But yeah, it goes deeper than just the parties and who's buying the dresses and whatever.
Yeah. It's still,
there's a lot of meaning behind it. So
lots of meaning, but still it's a big deal, and still there's responsibilities for sure.
Yeah. And these people, they shouldn't feel like they have to do these things for you. It shouldn't feel like, oh, you know what? I'm getting married and here's your job. Like, this is like what you need to do for me. They should want to be part of your day, and they should want to do these things for you and support you, and it's not about spending the money. It's really like about being there for you.
Yeah, at the heart of it, it's being there for you, being able to walk alongside you, support you, protect you, help you. And it's still hard. You're still managing a group of people. There could still be drama, but that's for another episode. For this one, it really is just breaking down those general things, kind of the basics of it. Who's going to be a part of it? What do you need from them? Where, when are all of these things going to happen? And I just really want to stress that don't forget the why behind it. And they shouldn't either. Like, of course, like, you shouldn't forget it, but like, you want to pick people who aren't going to forget that either. At the end of the day, they are there to support you, love you, and work towards your big day.
Yeah, I think that's something to go back to as well. Like, if you find yourself like in the weeds, like with this process, like always think back to that. Like, if you're struggling with how to narrow down your list, or like how to even choose people in the first place, go back to that sentiment. Or maybe like down the line you're experiencing some sort of like pushback or drama like with members of your wedding party. Go back to that, and maybe that's something that you can use in a conversation with them.
That was a good kind of general overview. And we're going to say it again. Get in our DMs. Get on our website. Let us know what else you want to hear about. Of course, just generally with wedding planning. But like, we are really loving this topic of the wedding party, the bridal party breakdown. You let us know what you want to know, because we're here for it.
Yes. Yeah, this was just us dipping our toe into this aspect of weddings, and it really is like fascinating to us. So we would love to hear more from you. If you have any questions about this topic, if you'd like to hear more about this topic, or really any topic, if you have stories, please let us know. You can always send us a DM on Instagram at The Guide Gals Podcast, or you can reach out to us on the contact page on our website, which is theguidegalspodcast.com. Here you can also find our full episode library, as well as we have a whole freebie section of our website with free resources that you can download if you want something a little bit more tangible to use during your planning journey. You can also find us on TikTok, where we post some behind the scenes stuff at The Guide Gals Pod, and you can watch every one of our episodes in video format on the Here Comes the Guide YouTube channel. So yeah, that's where you can find us.
Yes. Lots of different ways where we can chat and let us be a part of your extended bridal party of sorts as we walk alongside you in each of these episodes. So thank you so much for listening. Again, 20th episode, huge deal for us. And we'll see you in the 21st episode. But until then,
yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.